We start now.
Yes, sir.
Medha.
Yes, sir.
Medha Anand. How happy are you in general?
So I think sometimes I become too happy. So
Become too happy?
yes, sir. So decently
Okay.
happy, sir.
How does too happy look like, Medha?
Probably that is that point of time when I'm not overthinking about anything, and it's just a very very relaxed mode. It happens when I'm back from my office, and I just have a cup of tea with ginger in it, and that is when I'm the most happiest.
Oh, wow. That's really, I think it's a blessing that you have. Not everybody is blessed as well, and stay blessed. Excellent. You watched the movie Anand?
So I've listened to its songs, and I think I have watched it, but I don't remember it exactly, sir. It was a good movie about a cancer patient, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
It's a pretty famous movie.
Yes, sir.
Is it true that happiness lies in acceptance? By any means, does that ring a chord with you that happiness lies in acceptance?
So probably that can be one of the explanations of how one can be happy. If we accept the situation in which we are, then definitely we can be happy, sir. So as was shown in this movie Anand, while he had a terminal illness, he still did really well. He was happy most of the times, and he would wander around and tell people to be happy because they had a life ahead. So that was just his way of being, of accepting the reality as it was. So this can be true, sir.
You set me thinking on what Anand was about. Okay, fine. So you think acceptance is a... How do you differentiate between acceptance and resignation?
So acceptance is that I started for Indian Administrative Service or maybe Indian Police Service. I got into Railway Traffic Service. I'm happy there, doing my best. That is acceptance. Had I just not been working there and preparing solely for the next shift of the examination, that would have been counted as resignation, which I think I didn't do. So that would be the difference between the two. Where I'm not contributing to my present self, that would be resignation because I'm not happy with the situation, or this is not something
So
which
resignation has the element of giving up.
Yes, sir.
Right? You have given up hopelessness.
Yes, sir.
Right? So it was not that in your case, I'm sure.
No, sir.
Do you agree with the idea of gross national happiness as an indicator of developing society?
Sir, I have a few contentions about this system because it will be very difficult to gauge the happiness of a person. Can economy decide if a person is happy, or how do we really decide it? If there is a pollution-free environment around me, will that ensure that I'm happy? So there are contentions about how we measure it. So it can be a wonderful concept as long as...
Are you aware how does Bhutan measure it?
So I think they see the economy, they see the rates of, I think, suicide, sir, and sir, the employment opportunities of the people around. So I think that's how they measure it. There are certain aspects of it, sir, I'm not able to recall.
Not very sure about it.
Yes, sir.
Their concept of happiness is highly driven by the Buddhist school of thinking around Buddhist culture, Buddhist traditions, Buddhist practices, and then of course environment and the rest also. Okay, so you think it's not a very objective model in measuring development? Is that your verdict there?
Yes, sir. It will be very difficult to classify something so subjective into objective terms, that a country's happiness can be gauged by some objective numbers or parameters.
Because we have done that for development in some ways, isn't it? We're able to quantify health and education. We're able to quantify even empowerment, which is also a subjective idea. Why can't we do this for happiness?
So I think for health we can have parameters in terms of the maternal mortality rate, the infant mortality rates, and other such criteria. But so happiness is something very subjective. Even a depressed person, as we've seen, many celebrities who have committed suicides out of depression, on the outside they seem very happy. Even their social media accounts point out that they were actually very happy. For example, so the case of Sushant Singh Rajput's suicide. Nobody ever suspected that he could have been depressed out of all the people. His interest in economy and astronomy definitely didn't lead us to thinking that he was depressed to any of the levels. So this would be very difficult to gauge. That's my point, sir. Something like health, something like empowerment can be measured. I can measure.
Mental health?
So I think there can be tests, cognitive tests for that. But again, that is a difficult way to gauge because I can always befool the person who's trying to gauge my mental health. I can showcase something else while I'm not that. So again, so it will be difficult, although not that difficult as so happiness would be.
I hear you. I hear you. Fine, fine. I understand. I tell you, what are the you heard about the news about students committing suicide, right?
Yes, sir.
The unfortunate young, talented, and aspirational students giving up. What do you think is the reason? If you can be a bit more analytical there, why do students commit suicide? What's amiss?
So I think we are failing as a society as a whole when our students are committing suicides just because they are not getting grades or they are not passing on to exams which are competitive in nature. So I see many points which have led to this kind of a situation, this kind of a grim situation. So first would be very high expectations of the parents. Parents these days have become really competitive. When they say our child got only 97% marks, this is a very difficult statement to swallow, sir. So another would be that the education industry is becoming more and more commercialized. When coaching institutes, so even for the exams like UPSC Civil Services examination, when we showcase reels wherein IAS IPS officers are shown like celebrities, they create a kind of expectation which is difficult for a common child to sustain. But we showcase them as celebrity about the salutes they get or the life that they are living. So that is somewhere eating up the society. And I, on a personal level, I'm against such kind of commercial advertisement related to education. What we're seeing in Kota might be another case of Delhi in future, of maybe a Rajendra.
What future?
Sort of Kota that we are seeing right now. What is happening in Kota where students are committing suicide. So that can be the future we'll see maybe in Mukherjee Nagar or in Karol.
I'm glad you thought through that. Yes, you're right. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So I think this competitive nature, sir, again, I think technology
So
is
how to moderate this competitive nature? I think competition by nature itself is very inherent or it's acquired. How do you moderate? How do you decide how much of competition is good for somebody and how much is not?
So one would be to diversify. Not everything is IIT JEE and not everything is a civil service examination. People can excel in arts, people can excel in sciences. Not everybody need to be an engineer. I think there is a problem with this set of an attitude where we see that engineering is a must or maybe a government job is a must. So first is we need to diversify. We need to give equal respect to all other jobs as well. For example, if somebody is good in teaching as a profession, he or she must definitely pursue it without his or her parents speaking against it. So second would be, so maybe as a society we need to give less emphasis on the worldly matters. Because when we try to gauge somebody's success with economic aspects of it, or maybe by the respect that a person gets, there is a fundamental problem in this thinking.
That's so counter thinking, no? You talk about society, India is spiritual, India is traditional, simple people somewhere we have learned to tell ourselves at least. And here you're talking about worldly, focused society going after material gains. It's a counterintuitive thing for me. Either one of this is right. Both cannot be right.
So I think we have both. We have the Bharat and we have the India. So one side of it is very simple.
Bharat India is more in terms of economic aspect, right?
Yes, sir.
The mentality is still what?
So I think we can use the similar connotation in terms of the spiritual and the material aspects of it. So while the village people, although they might seem simple, but definitely they will also want their kids to become an IAS officer or
Their aspiration.
Their aspiration path, sir. So we are simple.
When we want to box India,
yes,
which of course not easy. The box India, where would you box India? Would you box India to on a spiritual traditional side? Or a young, restless, aspirational society? Okay, craving for an outlet or a friend to do it all. Where will you box society? Where do you think we are going? Or where do you think we belong?
So somewhere in the middle of the spectrum, and some people would lie at both the ends also. Some would be like very spiritual, like maybe the Naga sadhus, and on the other side would be the ultra modern kids of maybe Gen Alpha that we'll see in future, who will have very high aspirations from maybe becoming an Instagram model and being famous on that aspect. And so most of it I would like to box them in between the spectrum, sometimes clinging to the right and sometimes to the left, sir.
Talking about education issues, you said one is the expectation of parents,
Yes, sir.
somewhere the society and the aspirations. Okay, go on please. What do you think? What else are the reasons?
So second, I mentioned the commercialization of education. So third is I think we emphasize a lot on marks, and which is a very subjective thing to do. Somebody can cramp up maybe 10 questions and get 100% marks. This should not judge his or her mental abilities, because every child is different and we need to treat every child in that aspect. If I expect an art student to do good at maths, it is my fault absolutely. So maybe I like to invoke APJ Abdul Kalam sir. He said that every child should grow based on his or her best capabilities. So that would be the third one, where our education is lacking, where we are trying to fit in everybody on common standards.
So are these issues addressed by new education policy of India?
So to some extent, it's a beginning, and it's definitely a good beginning. So we are
Tell me
focusing.
those examples where you think these things have been taken care of.
So one is vocational learning, where we are saying that even if you're not good at studies, you do whatever you're good at. You can be a carpenter, one can be a painter, or whatever. So then recognition of prior learning. If my family has been weaving for a long time, I can showcase it on my certificate that I'm a trained weaver because of the generational aspect of it, sir. So that way I'm promoting diversity. I'm encouraging maybe a carpet weaver from Badoi to maintain that handloom industry and also get a good job in the market economy, sir. So third, I would think that when we are able to diversify the streams that we are offering earlier, if I wanted to be a civil engineer, I had to be in this particular stream only. But now maybe I can do law along with it. So that is a welcome step, sir, because then we'll diversify and maybe we can get more ideas.
Don't you think there's an issue of understanding cause-effect relationship? When we talk about diversifying education must also make sense in some terms of diversifying our career prospects, which are equally or comparatively economically rewarding. If the economy is centered around engineering, economy is centered around STEM subjects, how do you expect humanities subject to do well in this economy?
So I think as a society we have attached some kind of prestige to
That's
this.
because it gives you the kind of
Yes, sir.
money or salary or gives you that purchasing power.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So do you think by diversifying education, even making the courses available, okay, would society opt for those courses that do not have as much of economic prospects?
So not unless they have economic remunerations attached
Yes.
to them, sir.
So is it a problem of society or is it a problem of economy?
So I think one is that there are lesser opportunities at the top level for humanitarian options,
Precisely.
and so we can enhance them, sir, in future. So for
Okay,
example,
let's see, you can talk about that or not. Yeah.
So for example, with the coming up of technology like AI, we will have to engage economists who are able to see how the demand and supply and how the nudging technology can work in this aspect, sir. So because most of the economy is related to society, which will be linked to the IT aspect and the AI part of it. So there they can be employed. So another aspect is we can outsource them to other nations where there is requirement of a human population. So for example, Japan. Japan is seeing a declining population. We have an average age of 29 years of India. So definitely, sir, we can outsource people to those places.
You're opening a big can of worms there, right? Talking about now trade on services, talking about labor exchange. Wow, I'm happy you think through that. Yeah, go on.
So another is we can have role models. So if that is the case, then definitely people can cling on to those role models and come out prosperous. So for example, the entrepreneurs that are rising up. For example, we have many from our colleges who dropped out of college and became huge success in this entrepreneurship. So physics wala is basically our college senior. He didn't get through the engineering part, but he did great in this aspect. And definitely, sir would have promoted and prompted other students from our college or maybe who are not yet in college to come in that direction, sir. So I think, sir, these are few of the ways through which we can enhance the other side as well.